In total, Family Guy has 12 Christmas episodes, all varying in quality. So I wanted to focus on what I consider to be the very best, i.e. the one you need to watch before the holidays, and the very worst, i.e. the one you need to avoid at all costs. So let's start with the best. First off, the idea for this video came after watching Family Guy's very recent Hulu Christmas episode that marketed itself as a quote-unquote special, but in reality, it was nothing more than just a regular episode. In my opinion, The Road to the North Pole is the very definition of a Christmas special. At 47 minutes, it feels far more grand and epic in its ambition. And you can feel that right from the start, with the title cards that pay homage to classic holiday movies, all set to a sweeping orchestral score. While talking to James about this, he remembered that when it first aired, it felt like a big cinematic event because it was in full screen HD, unlike the letterbox format of the earlier Christmas episodes. What with season 9 being the first time Family Guy switched to HD. The episode opens with Seth MacFarlane's dad, Ron, narrating the story.
And I'm here to tell you the story of a very special Christmas in Quahog.
And yes, that is actually Seth's real dad. Ron was only suggested as the narrator as a joke to make Seth laugh, but Seth ended up loving the idea.
And I remember sort of throwing Ron's name out there just to try to get Seth to laugh. And then there was a beat where he sort of thought about it and he's like, that'd be great.
So, sitting in front of a cozy fireplace with a cute cardigan on, he looks so darn wholesome. That's until he talks.
Anyway, Seth came out of my penis, and now he made this.
It's here where we get our first song, All I Really Want for Christmas.
Is all I really want for Christmas this year. Giggity.
The song centers around everyone's desire for material goods, which ties directly into the episode's message about overconsumption and the true meaning of Christmas. And this song is so catchy.
Doesn't this seem like too much stuff? Pull on you, it's not enough.
Honestly, since watching it again, I can't get it out of my head. What's interesting about this song is that Seth and Walter Murphy actually wrote this song years ago, back when the show was first cancelled. And the episode's writer loved it so much that he added it to his annual Christmas playlist. In fact, this entire episode was partly created because he felt the song deserved a second life.
In the back of my head, I had already written a Family Guy Christmas episode, and I thought we should do another one because I felt this song deserved another life. It all happened because of this really, really wonderful, catchy song by Walter Murphy and Seth.
Speaking of which, the music in this episode is phenomenal overall, but we'll talk more about that later. After waiting hours at the mall to see Santa, Stewie finally gets his turn, only for the mall Santa to completely brush him off.
Sorry, I'm done. You want your kid to sit on my lap? Meet me at the bar at Applebee's.
So naturally, Stewie decides to do the next logical step.
I'm going to kill Santa Claus.
A bit of an overreaction, but hey, it's Stewie. It tracks. We also get this incredibly awkward encounter with Brian Quagmire and his niece, who has cancer.
Oh, come on. I didn't know she was dying.
Who said anything about dying?
Uncle Glenn, am I dying?
Way to put your foot in your mouth, Brian. But their petty rivalry is probably my favourite recurring gag in Family Guy. Their journey takes them across snowy, desolate landscapes, all soundtracked with a beautiful choir score playing underneath it. Seriously, the music is so good here. Everything just seems so thoughtful and a real production. Eventually, the guys know they're getting closer because they see the Aurora Borealis lighting up the sky.
Aurora Borealis!
Sorry, I just couldn't resist adding that Simpsons quote. And speaking of The Simpsons, if you're not following my other channel, then you might not know that James and I have written not one, but 2 books about The Simpsons, and right now they're available on Amazon for 50% off for a limited time for the holidays. So yeah, Collecting The Simpsons is great for those nostalgic about the 90s. It's a full colour coffee book focusing on the rare merchandise from the show, like the toys, the video games, the clothes, comic books, and so much more. And The Simpsons Secret spotlights the wild theory that The Simpsons predicts everything, and in the book we break down, debunk and answer this long-running Simpsons mystery. Simply search Collecting The Simpsons or Simpsons Secret into your local Amazon website and it'll come up. Anyway, back to the video. So whenever we get these epic globe-trotting adventures with Brian and Stewie, I've always wondered, what do Lois and Peter think? Are they just okay with the fact that their dog and baby is vanishing for days on end? Well, we finally get an answer when Stewie reveals that he's built robot replicas of himself and Brian to cover their absence.
Hey, Lois, would you make an appointment for me to be neutered in 2 days?
But are you sure, Brian?
Yes, I'm sure.
The sheer time and dedication Stewie put towards creating not only his and Brian's robots, but also the notary, his entire family, and even an entire tour bus full of robots. It's absolutely ridiculous, but absolutely hilarious.
But a notary should be here any minute. I received a call about notarizing a document.
Eventually, Brian and Stewie arrive at the gates of the North Pole, and Brian is completely stunned to find that Santa is real. But instead of the whimsical, festive paradise Stewie imagined, they find a grimy industrial factory. And when they knock on the door, they're greeted by a gaunt, haggard-looking Santa, and in a twist, Santa actually begs Stewie to just get it over and done with and kill him. Realizing there's no fun in killing someone who wants to die, Stewie decides to spare him.
You were supposed to be jolly and happy.
I used to be, a long time ago.
To keep up with the ever-growing demand for Christmas, Santa and the North Pole have been pushed to their absolute limits. They're producing gallons of toxic waste, and the elves have been reduced to inbreeding just to sustain the operations.
I started with one family of magic elves, and every year I needed more and more to keep up.
And as if things couldn't get any worse, the reindeer have also developed a taste for elf meat.
How could you let this happen?
Me? I didn't do this. Christmas did.
This is both insanely dark and really creative. I've never seen Santa's workshop depicted like this before, basically a grungy sweatshop. It's such a twist to take something that's always been portrayed as so jolly and whimsical and lovely into this. It's a scene I can only really imagine happening in Family Guy. This all leads into one of the best songs in the entire show. Christmas Time is Killing Us.
I'll tell you what, shove your list up your butt, because Christmas time is killing us.
The song is so ridiculously catchy, and I love the dark visuals. And it's not just me who loves it, this song was so well received that it was nominated for a 2011 Primetime Emmy for Outstanding Music and Lyrics, although it did lose to Justin Timberlake's monologue song from Saturday Night Live. But it also earned a Grammy nomination in the Best Song Written for Visual Media category. The song ends dramatically when Santa starts coughing up blood and collapses. The Dr. Elf informs them that if Santa leaves, he will die. So in a moment of Christmas spirit, Brian volunteers that they'll take over for him.
We'll make sure there's a Christmas this year.
They saddle up, ready to take up the task. Stewie saws off an elf's arm in order to use it bait for the reindeer to fly. And yeah, it's absolutely grim, but funny in a dark humour kind of way. They stop at their first house, or should I say crash into it, slide down the chimney, and right off the bat, things go very, very south. After locking themselves out, they break in through the window, then they start fighting, which wakes up the homeowner, who catches them in the kitchen. But before the guy can call the cops, Stewie knocks him out with a baseball bat, and as if things couldn't get any worse, the guy's family wakes up. So Stewie knocks out the wife and ties the daughter up. And to top it all off, they then realise that they are at the wrong house.
It's already ruined. This was one house. We've been here for an hour and a half.
This is perhaps the most controversial scene amongst fans because some felt it went way too far. Here are the writers and directors discussing it on the DVD commentary.
People called me after this aired and said, you know, we loved it, but did they have to kill that father?
Well, that's a controversy. Okay.
Yeah.
I totally get why some people would be turned off by this, but honestly, I found it hilarious. The fact that they only made it to one house and still managed to royally F it up is just ridiculously funny to me. They started off with such pure intentions with wanting to help out Santa, only to be covered in blood not long after. So with the police sirens in the distance, the two make a quick escape by flying away. And the next morning, everyone wakes up disappointed to find that there's no presents under their tree.
Joe, did you get any Christmas presents?
No!
Me neither.
To explain what happened, Brian and Stewie wheel out a sickly Santa live on TV. They tell everyone that there's no Christmas this year because people's greed overwhelmed Santa and made him sick. Brian urges everyone to ask for less stuff, and the entire town of Quahog agrees to limit themselves to just one present a year.
I can. One gift is okay.
Cut to 1 year later, and the North Pole is back to normal. The elves are no longer inbred, and Santa is healthy, jolly, and ready for Christmas again. The music swells, and the episode ends on a very heartwarming note. The episode really has a great message about overconsumption, greed, and how Christmas has become so commercialized. And yeah, it is a theme we've seen thousands of times, like with The Grinch, but Family Guy puts its own sick twist on it, taking things to a whole new fucked up level with a dying Santa, inbred elves, and a brutal home invasion. This is hands down not only the best Christmas episode that Family Guy has ever done, it's also one of the best episodes of the whole show. Period. So let's now move on to what I consider to be the absolute worst Family Guy Christmas episode, season 22's The Return of the King of Queens. I haven't watched it since it first aired a year ago, so hey, maybe it's not as bad as I remember. So I'm gonna rewatch it right now with fresh eyes and see if my opinion has changed. I'll be right back. Oh. Okay, yeah, that was still dog shit. So I'm not going to give a full recap for this episode as I already did that in my initial review for it. Instead, I'll just share my thoughts overall. The episode centers around Kevin James and how traditional sitcoms are fading away. Honestly, it felt like it was written 5 years ago, considering Kevin James's last sitcom, Kevin Can't Wait, ended all the way back in 2018. This episode only aired a year ago. Also, to have an episode revolve around Kevin James and not have the actual guy voicing himself is such an odd decision. Surely they could have got him, especially because Family Guy has had so many celebrities come on to voice themselves. James Woods, Ryan Reynolds, Liam Neeson, even Tom Brady. You're telling me they couldn't get Kevin James to come on? And I might not have minded so much, but the voice actor literally sounds nothing like him.
Hi, Peter. You were my last viewer.
Now, the biggest issue I had about it was that it doesn't even feel like a Christmas episode. Sure, it's set at Christmas, but that's about it. You could have placed this episode at any time of year and it wouldn't have made a difference. And while the ending does involve Kevin James performing in a nativity, it's all really just a commentary on the decline of network TV comedies.
It's old sitcom stars. They're coming out of the cornfield.
And aside from a few Christmas decorations in the background, this episode doesn't feel festive at all. It's all just set dressing. As well as this, it doesn't help that Brian and Stewie are barely in this episode. The entire focus is purely on Peter and Kevin's incredibly unfunny storyline. Road to the North Pole had a really strong message about how commercialized Christmas has become, while also mixing dark themes with absurdly hilarious moments. In contrast, this episode just seems to be about the decline of network television and comedy stars. I think maybe it is unfair to compare these two vastly different episodes, but hey, they're both Christmas episodes, so I think it's fair game. But what did you think? And what is your favourite Family Guy Christmas episode? Or what's your favourite Christmas episode in general? It doesn't have to be Family Guy. Let me know in the comments below.